Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tails Crafts, and today I'm going to be creating a different type of project. I will be making a snowflake garland using the fluffy and pointy snowflake ornament dies from our newest collection. You can see I have my piles here. I die cut each snowflake panel 6 to 7 times. This design, the red that I'm holding, I cut out 7 times for each color, and then for the other snowflake, I die cut those out 6 times. What I love about these dies is each snowflake is made with a single die. It is very inexpensive, and the end result of these snowflakes are spectacular. They are by far the most popular item from the newest release. I got the most requests to have a video tutorial for these specifically, and I really wanted to create something unique and more of a home decor piece, so I decided to create a garland. I die cut all of the pieces from heavyweight Spellbinders cardstock. I chose Spellbinders just because the teals I chose match very well together, and I have them, I might as well use them. The cardstock I am using though is heavyweight. I believe these are 100-pound papers, but I would actually suggest using 65 to 80-pound cardstock if you are making these yourselves. I opted for heavier weight because I have an industrial strength tape that I will link down below. I get it at Uline. It is super sticky. In fact, a lot of people don't like it because it ruins even non-stick scissors. It's that sticky. But I figured because this is a garland I will be stowing away for years, I want these snowflakes to last as long as possible. But if I were to make these as ornaments or tags, and I am using just standard craft tape or glue, I would definitely opt for a lighter weight cardstock. It's totally up to you. Now you can see here, I'm just reinforcing the score lines on each of these pieces before I start actually folding it the way it's supposed to go in order to make the different panels on the snowflake. So here I'm just in. This is real time, by the way. I made this one while I was talking, so I'll talk through the next one I'm going to show you. But you're going to be left with these little wedges that when you glue them back to back, it's going to create the snowflake. So I'll go ahead and talk through the next couple wedges here. I do think it's easier to watch what I'm doing versus me trying to explain it. But basically right now I'm just reinforcing those score lines. There's 6 vertical lines, 3 on each side, and you can see that those 3 score lines are grouped together close to those cutouts on the die. And what I'm doing is I'm pinching that center score line, so out of the 3, the center one that is right down the center of those cutouts, I am pinching that upwards, and then by doing that, the score lines on the left and right of the center score line are naturally going to fold inwards. Then on the right side, I am going to fold that in. You're going to see that the peaks are going to line up there at the top. And then those cutouts are going to line up together on the inside. You can just pinch them in. You do the same thing on the left side, just fold that towards the center so that those peaks line up. And then there is a single horizontal score line that you just fold in half to create that wedge. So don't worry, I'm going to keep showing this. It's just a matter of repetition. Once you can make one of these wedges, they are all built the same exact way. So definitely just take some time with this, and yeah, soon you'll be making these without even thinking. So again, I'm reinforcing the score lines before I do anything here, especially that center one that goes right through the cutouts. That is the most important score line. You're definitely going to want to reinforce that. You can even use a bone folder if you want. And then once you have that center one reinforced, it's very easy to just pinch those 2 left and right score lines sort of towards each other, and that's going to create that peak in the center where that center score line will be folded up and the left and right score lines will be folded down. Then you're just going to fold that in half, lining up those 2 peaks at the top. Go ahead and pinch those cutouts again, just make sure those are nice and secure. You'll fold in the left side, lining up the peaks at the top and bottom, and then you're just going to fold it in half with that one horizontal score line there. And then it should look like this on the front and on the back. The front and back should look exactly the same. There should be one paper hanging on each edge, and there should be 4 in that center part. We're going to glue that center together so that it looks more like a star shape. But for now, let's just go ahead and fold up and prep all of these wedges. So here I have my 5th panel, just going to reinforce the score lines, folding up that center score line between the cutouts, and then folding in the left and right score lines towards each other, pinching up that center score line. Then I will reinforce that horizontal line, why not? And then I will fold back one side up to the center, lining up the peaks. Then I will just push in those cutouts, make sure that they're nicely folded in. Then I will fold in the left side, lining up the center peaks. And then again, just push those pieces in and then fold it in half upwards. Now I'm just double checking that the front looks exactly like the back. Again, you should be left with 1 paper on each end and then 4 loose papers in the center. Then we are down to the last panel, and you can add as many wedges as you want. I personally would add more wedges if you're using heavyweight cardstock, and you can use less if you're using lightweight. So if I were to use lightweight, I would go with 4 to 6 layers. If I was going with heavyweight, I would go to 6 to 8 layers. In this instance, I did 6 for this design and 7 for the other one. So again, same process for this one. I reinforced the score lines, pinched that center score line in between all the cutouts up, which left those left and right score lines facing down. I folded in the right side, pushed all those inner cutouts inside, did the same thing on the left side, folded that in, lining up the peaks, and then pinched each of those cutouts inwards, and then folded that horizontal score line upwards. And now we have our 6 wedges. So again, you have 1 paper on each end and 4 loose papers on the inside. So we have to glue those 4 papers together. So you can see there's 2 on each side. I'm going to focus on the 2 on each side first. I'm taking, like I said, my super strong U-line tape here. This will work perfectly well if you're using lightweight cardstock and regular craft tape. I will link to my U-line if you are looking to make these more substantial home decor pieces and you really want to use heavyweight cardstock like I am today. So you can see I am just adding just a square of tape at the top of that peak, and those 2 pieces again are going to line up to create that perfect triangle at the top. So you can see I just attach those 2 pieces together on the top part of the horizontal line, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom points of the horizontal line. So I just added a little square of tape right at the top. Going to fold in the tape so that you won't see it, and then just line up those peaks and squish that down. And then we have to merge the bottom and the top together. So I'm going to use a longer piece of tape here. I probably should have done it even longer than this, which you'll see on the next wedge that I will make it a little bit longer, but same thing, you're just going to just line up those peaks together, and now you have your star shape in the center. So now you should be left with 3 total peaks. We're gonna do the exact same thing to the other wedges. And now I'll go ahead and speed it up a little bit. I am going to bring in my 1/4" tape. So this is actual normal craft strength tape, I guess you could say. I'd still buy this at Uline. It's very inexpensive, and you can get, you know, normal craft strength or industrial strength, and they have 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. So here I pulled in the regular strength craft 1/4 inch tape, and I'm just doing the same thing. I am lining up the 2 loose papers, attaching them at the top peak, and then I will take my strong tape, and this is where I decide I want a little bit of a longer piece here, but I am focusing it towards the top because I do want this to look more like a star shape. So then I'll just meet the top and bottom together, and then you'll be left with your 3 peaks. So you can see you start with 4 basically. So again, I'm going to first start by taping each side together. So now I'm looking at the bottom one, lining up those 2 triangles together. I'll go ahead and do the top peak now. And then once those are secure, you can add your center tape towards the top and then close that off. Once again, I'm going to attach the bottom 2 papers together so that it just creates one piece. Do the same thing to the top. I'm using 1/4 inch tape here just because the surface area is a little bit smaller, and then I'll use 1/2 inch tape to merge the top and bottom together. I love that everything lines up with those peaks, so you know you are headed in the right direction there. And I know this is just me repeating it, but this is what you have to do. And I know there is a learning curve with stuff like this, and especially for me, I can do pop-ups, but when it's almost like origami like this, it's a bit more challenging. So that repetition, I think, is very helpful. So I wanted to include an entire snowflake from start to finish here, just in case, you know, you're watching this as you are building your own snowflakes. So there I got 4 wedges done. Again, I got my 1/4 inch tape. I'm going to glue those top peaks together, basically going from 4 pieces of paper in the center down to 2. So I'm gluing 2 together at the top, 2 together at the bottom, adding some very strong tape to glue those pieces together. All right, then we just have one more. If you are wondering, it takes me 23 minutes to fully assemble one snowflake. That doesn't include the die cutting. All right, so now we just have to glue these back to back, and that's pretty simple. You're just, again, going to line up those peaks at the top and attach each wedge together. So I'm going to add some more strong double-sided tape. And you can see I'm using a full strip there. Be pretty generous with your tape, and at no point would I suggest using liquid glue. It's just going to take way too long. It might look very messy if you're heavy-handed with your glue. I highly suggest tape for this. So we're just going to go to the next wedge, add double-sided tape, line up the peaks, and as you go, you can squish it down to make sure that everything is getting pressed together. Then just move on to the next wedge, line up the peaks. And here you can fit as many as you want. I will say that the less layers you add, the more you will see the cutouts. So I figured it would look prettier if you add more layers, but I actually think it looks prettier if you use less. So again, if I was using lighter weight, I would suggest maybe just 4 or 5 layers so you can really see those cutouts. All right, so now I have some twine. This is like natural color, cream-ish. And before I close off this snowflake, I'm going to wedge a loop between the 2 ends of the snowflake. I decided to also add a silver bell here. And for my next snowflake, I change it up. Instead of using Scotch tape to adhere that twine down, I'm going to just double up my double-sided tape. So you can see I'm right over that Scotch tape adding my double-sided tape. Instead of adding the Scotch tape, I will have one layer of that strong double-sided tape already adhered down there, remove the backing, lay my twine on top, and then seal it off again with another strip of double-sided tape. That's just going to be super secure. And on that last wedge, you want to be generous with your tape. So you can see I added my 1/2 inch and my 1/4 inch, fully covering that wedge and closing off the ends. And that creates the most beautiful 3D snowflake. These things are thick, like they are so substantial by the time they are fully made. They are honestly so stunning. All right, so for this second snowflake design, it's a little bit different, but also kind of the same. I love this one because you almost get a 2-layered snowflake. The last one created that pointy star shape. This one to me looks like a true fluffy snowflake. So again, reinforcing the score lines, there are 6 again on this design, with that center one going right between the cutouts on the, I guess, right side. And then on the left side, they are just completely solid peaks. So just reinforcing the score lines at the moment. And same thing, you're going to push up or fold up that center score line. Or actually, just kidding. We're going to fold down the center score line. And then that will make the score lines on the left and right side of it fold up. So we're kind of doing the opposite, but you can also fold it up if you want. In the end, you're going to flip this behind itself, and you're going to pinch in those cutouts again, just like we did on the last. So instead of folding it over itself, you're actually folding behind. Then you're going to fold the first score line on the right side up, the second one down, and then the third one up again. So you should be left with these 2 flaps, and that's how you know you're working on the right side. So the back should be completely flat. There should not be anything overlapping. And on the front, you should have a flap on the left and a flap on the right. So we want to close those flaps together. So again, I'm using my strong tape for this. This snowflake is a lot more intricate, so I am not even going to use that lighter weight tape. I'm going to go straight for the industrial strength and just cut it in half. I will say by the time I was done with these ornaments, my non-stick scissors, really not non-stick, were completely glued up. So I'll show you how you can fix that. But for now, let's go ahead and close those flaps. So on the left one that has the intricate cutouts, I am just adding a strip of 1/4 inch tape on the very edge of it. You don't want to have any tape on the actual cutouts. You just want to add tape where it's going to be covered by the other flap that's on the right side. So that is gluing together the left and right overlapping sort of pockets, and you're going to make sure that the left side with the cutouts will be glued to the bottom. You want the solid side on the right to be on top. And this is where I messed up this snowflake the first time I received this die. You know, my mom creates all the 3D pop-ups, and I, as odd as it sounds, cannot think 3-dimensionally, even though that's what I sell. So I messed up an entire snowflake because I actually glued the wrong side down first. So just make sure that the cutout side is glued to the bottom and that this solid side that I am now adding tape to is on the top. So you can see I added another strip of 1/4 inch tape on the very edge closest to the center, and then just a small square of tape right in the center. This is where you need to be a little bit more careful about your glue placement, because if you add your glue to the wrong areas, you might see it when the snowflake is fully assembled. So definitely this snowflake is a little more challenging than the first one is. So if you did buy both, I would start with the one I just started with and then go to this design. But overall, the scoring and the folding is almost the exact same. It's really just more challenging on where to put the tape. All right, so again, reinforcing the score lines on my next piece. And this, instead of pointing that center score line up, I'm going to go backwards this time. It really doesn't matter because you're going to see when you have to push in those cutouts. But in this case, we'll just go ahead and have that center score line that goes right through the center of each of those cutouts facing down, which will then fold up the left and right score line upwards. Right now, I'm just reinforcing the score lines. There are pretty intricate pieces there, so I'm taking my time. This is real time in case you're wondering. And again, fold down the center cutouts and fold up the left and right score line. And then you're going to fold this piece backwards, which you'll see, hold on. All right, so you can see that rightmost edge I am folding backwards and then pinching that center. All right, so I'll make sure that those cutouts are nicely folded in, and then I will fold the left side, the first score line up, the second score line down, and the third score line up. And then you'll see those two flaps are going to meet in the center, and the back side is going to be completely flat. All right, so I have my 1/4 inch tape. Again, this is the strong tape I just cut in half with my scissors. Going to attach the flaps together first, make sure that the one with the cutouts is on the bottom, and then adhere the left and right flaps together. Then you're going to add another strip of 1/4 inch tape right in the center. You just want to use 1/4 inch tape here, don't use 1/2 inch, but you can use 1/2 inch to add that little square in the center. That's just going to add a little bit more adherence, I guess. And then again, like the last one, you just fold that horizontal score line up, meeting those halves together and meeting all the peaks together. And this is totally unnecessary. I honestly just like using these little clips. I add them to give that tape some time to stick together, but you don't need to have time with tape. That's the beauty of tape. It sticks immediately. Anyway, so now we're going on to the next wedge, folding in that center score line, then the left and right ones will naturally kind of poke up. Then on the outermost right side, you're going to fold that back and then kind of squish that center score line in, making sure that everything lines up. Then we're going to go to the left and then fold up the first score line, fold down the second score line, and then fold up that third score line. Then you're going to have those two flaps that meet in the center. Make sure that the side with all the cutouts is glued at the bottom. Add your 1/4 inch tape to that side on the very edge. Then fold all of those in on top of each other. Add another strip of 1/4 inch tape right to the seam where those two flaps meet. And then add another piece right in the center of that score line and then fold up. And with this design, I did opt for 7 wedges this time because, again, I'm using heavyweight cardstock. I don't want to pull those wedges apart as much because, you know, at the end when you attach the final 2 ends together, you do have to stretch the design a little bit. And because this one generally has less tape than the other one does, I don't want to stretch these wedges as much. All right, so again, we're attaching these back to back, but this time I'm only adding tape towards the bottom. You can see on each wedge, I'm kind of staying below the first cutout that's where I'm adding my tape. And then again, just lining up those peaks together. And I am folding this whole thing down as I go to make sure everything attaches nicely. So this one doesn't have the tape going from top to bottom like the last one did, although I think you could do that now that I'm watching it. So if you want some extra glue, you can, I think, do that. So this is my last wedge. Going to add my tape, line up the peaks, and then here you can see once you attach each end together, it is going to stretch those wedges a bit, and that's part of the reason it's so pretty, so that you can see the cutouts. But like I said, if you're using heavyweight, I would go for 7 or 8 layers. So here is where I decide, yeah, I want to add another wedge. So that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to grab my twine or my jute, create a little loop, and then I also strung my bell through the top of that. These bells I just get at Hobby Lobby. And this time I already have a layer of double-sided tape already there that I placed my jute right on top. Here I'm just adding some more 1/4-inch tape just to fill that completely with sticky tape. All right, so now I'll go ahead and line up my loop right in the center and then add another strip of heavy double-sided tape on top of that, and then just close off each end. And this is an ornament, so if you want to stop here, you have 2 gorgeous snowflakes that you can hang on your tree. Now, of course, I'm going to embellish this a little bit. You can see with this one, I like to fluff it a bit and also kind of open up those cutouts. And then here I'm just pulling down the bell so that that's kind of at the base. And then my cat, you're going to see him from this point forward. He really loves messing with the strings, like all cats do. And then off camera, I assembled the remaining 6 snowflakes the exact same way. So here's how you can get rid of sticky residue that might be on your scissors. I use hand sanitizer. I kind of just rub that in as safely as I can. You know, with it being a blade and all. And then I just use a paper towel to wipe off. That glue just easily wipes off with the hand sanitizer for some reason. I learned that from Tim Holtz. So if you have glue on your glass mat, you can also use hand sanitizer. All right, so I can't just be done with these. I have to keep going. So I have various embellishment mixes, and I am gluing some gems in between the cutouts. So on this design, I chose a larger gem to go on the outer cutouts. I did not want to add any to the center. I just felt like that was going to take too long and it would have been kind of fiddly. So I will show you how I embellished one of these for each design. And I just opted to find gems that matched the paper. So in this case, I'm using a teal gem for this lighter teal and the darker teal. I use the same gem for that color cardstock. And then there's a light blue I used for the light blue cardstock, and then I found a red gem for the red. So I will link to the specific embellishment mixes that I'm using here. You can see that this is actually a mix of different gems and also clay snowflakes. And I think the clay snowflakes would also be cute, but I wanted to keep this pretty monochromatic because I am making this into a garland. And I want the snowflakes to be the star, but I also don't want them to interfere much with the beads that I plan on putting on the garland. So for this design that has like the fluffy, you know, inner design, I added a small gem to each of the centers of those cutouts, and I love how that looks. It's so sparkly. So I'm just gonna kind of insert clips of me embellishing each one, but I did the same thing for all of them. So I added one large gem to that pointy snowflake on the outer edges, and then I added small gems to the outer edges of the fluffy snowflake. For the light blue, I have this mix that are like light blue crystals. It was the same thing with the teal gems. They are like crystal looking gems. They take on the color that's beneath them and they have a slight tint. So for the teal ornaments, I had a teal gem, and this is more of a light blue, but it still takes on the color beneath it because it's semi-transparent, and it's super pretty. This particular color of snowflake was my favorite. And all of these can be finished just as ornaments. I honestly just love how thick they end up being. And as long as they're stored carefully, I think they can be ornaments that can be pulled out for many years. All right, so I'm still not done with these. I'm going to add a silver snowflake to the centers, and that's it. I didn't want to do much else. I will embellish each of these center snowflakes, but other than that, I did not want to cover all the pretty cutouts. So I use the snowflake spinner die set. There's a bunch of standalone snowflakes that I die cut from silver mirror cardstock, and I think that's a nice touch, and it ties in with the silver bell at the top. And if you want to hear the bells, I do have a very sped up version of this on TikTok, and I think I'm going to make it like real-time noise, so like ASMR style. We'll see. All right, so I added a snowflake to the center. That is going to cover up the pretty hole that is made with the die. So honestly, I think it maybe is prettier without the snowflake, but I also like know myself and I know I can't stop, so I'm just gonna keep going. Again, adding the same gems to embellish that silver snowflake. And this was my favorite part of the whole process. I will say creating 8 ornaments took 1 entire day, and then creating the garland only took like an hour and a half. So my time was definitely spent on these, but they are so gorgeous. So with this snowflake, I just added a big gem to the center and then 5 small or 6 small ones to the outer branches. And I just did that to all of them. And I love how sparkly, it really catches the light beautifully. So these are the beads I'm using for my garland. I got these at Hobby Lobby and they were all half off. So I was trying to create a dupe of Pottery Barn. And I mean, it's not just Pottery Barn. These like wooden garlands are everywhere with the natural wood beads. I wanted to make my own because they're expensive. And I wanted a specific color scheme, which was the teal and the red. So I chose wood beads in those colors. And I'm taking that same twine I've been using for the loops of all of my ornaments. And I measured 72 inches of that with my glass mat. Then I just tied a knot at the bottom. And I just picked up a variety of wood beads. Now, they sell the natural colored ones, which you can see to the right, and you can paint those if you want, if you don't want to buy the colored ones. But these beads were half off, and in total, this garland only cost me $20. And I feel like it would have only been like $5 if you would use paint and color all the natural wood instead, but I just did not, you guys know I'm not a painter, I'm a crafter, so I just found the ones I wanted. So I am not going in a particular pattern, I'm just kind of dispersing the colors as I see fit. I am using a lot of these red beads because they're a little bit smaller, and I did want red to be a main color in this. And I love the different sized wood beads. You can see I don't have as many of these like teal colored ones, so I'm trying to figure out, I have enough where I can use one every, I think, 6.5 inches, so I'm just constantly rearranging the beads so that I can add one of the big teal ones. And these beads match perfectly with the teal and the red color I chose for my snowflakes. And this was a lot of fun. It didn't take very long, and I think if you did it in the colors of your Christmas tree, that would be even prettier. So I am going to make another one of these specifically for my Christmas tree. I have a plaid theme, like traditional red, green, craft, and gold. So I'm going to make another one of these and try to use felt and create ornaments with the felt. I did try to do felt with the snowflakes in this video, but it was just too thick. I don't know if there's a thinner felt out there, but also the felt didn't score that well. So I just opted for paper. But with the ornaments that just score in the middle, there's just one score line, I think I can use the felt. So stay tuned for that. I will be making another one of these, but it'll be specific to my Christmas tree, and it'll hopefully last longer because I'll be using felt. So anyway, I'm just, again, stringing up all these beads. This was so nice. As a kid, I made tons of jewelry. Like, this is what I did before card making when I was a kid. This was my jam. So it just kind of brought me back. And yeah, these garlands with the wood beads are super popular. I see them every single year. And for one that's about 72 inches, which is how long mine is, they're typically about $20. So I made my own with the colors I wanted, and it's way cuter for 20 bucks. I did also buy some string lights that I added to this, which added another $8. So if you want string lights also, the grand total is $28. So I love the whole concept of like duping these very trendy wooden ball garlands. So yeah, I will link to the Pottery Barn one because that one's like $100 and it is 72 inches and it doesn't have these cute snowflakes. All right, so I don't know what I was thinking here. Like, why was I adding my second snowflake over my first one? Obviously, you go from the right end to the left end. So anyway, I am using my glass mat again to space apart these snowflakes every 8.5 inches. And instead of trying to figure out how to loop the loop that's already there onto my garland, I'm just going to use another string and tie a knot at the base of the garland. And here you can see Goose's helping me. And this was just way faster. And yes, you can see the tails, but I don't really care. All right, so then I'm measuring out another 8.5 inches, stringing up my third snowflake. And you can do less of these and just space them apart more. I exactly love how this ended up being with 8 total. And I am going to string this up on my bookshelf. So you're going to see the end pictures. I'll also have a coordinating blog where the garland is fully strung up, and it's so pretty. I love how this turned out. It only took about a day and a half to make. I think these would be spectacular Christmas gifts. So anyway, while these are clearly made to be ornaments, I love that they can also be used to make home decor. I also bought some wood beads that are in the shape of a wreath. So maybe in a part 2 video, I can create wreaths. Also maybe with the snowflakes or some other ornament from the new release. We'll see, but I have some ideas. I'd love to make this a series where I turn, relatively cheap craft supplies into something gorgeous while also implementing my dies, like paper crafting. So I just have to have some more ideas. If you have any more ideas, let me know. All right, so again, I'm using my scissors as like a placeholder so I know where my next snowflake goes. And I had so much fun doing this project. I am a card maker. That is, what I do, but it's so nice every once in a while to do something entirely different with the same supplies. All right, so I'm wrapping up. I'm adding, I think, my last snowflake here. And I do want to mention before I leave that there's going to be an Instagram hop on Friday. I'll have another video also up on Friday. So stay tuned for that. I'm giving away 2 $25 gift cards to Scrappy Tails. And all you have to do is leave a comment on each of the posts along the hop. We have some incredible guest designers on top of our already incredible design team members. So I think there's going to be some wonderful inspiration, and I hope you guys can join us. So here is the completed garland. it is so long, I can't really put it in frame. So I encourage you guys to check out the blog and also the social medias, which I will have linked down below. These snowflakes are a phenomenal deal. They're only $16.95, and look at the gorgeousness you can make with just 2 simple dies. I love that you can create an entire pop-up with a single die. I mean, we've never done that before. All of our pop-ups are generally larger sets, so they're more expensive. And just look at that. Isn't that stunning? And yeah, I love that you can make them with just 1 die. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will have all the products used listed down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.